Hello, everybody. Scott Golden, Golden Opportunities Coaching here. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. Like, subscribe, comment below if there's something we can do to give you some greater insight into things going on in your own challenging life existence. And so today we're going to talk about 7 signs of a potential mental breakdown. Now, please understand this is not diagnostic information. If you think you're having a breakdown or know someone who is, please have them and help them to seek the appropriate counsel, and so that's useful. But there are things, and I've seen people go through breakdowns because breakdowns and trauma are directly related, and working in trauma recovery coaching, I've seen a lot of that over the last 13 years. But there's some basic signs that someone may be going through or about to go through a breakdown, and if we touch on those, maybe we can help to prevent that happening, especially with COVID and all the other challenges that are going on with the racially motivated riots and other things. Mental breakdowns are a bigger thing than they would be in other different times. One thing that you need to watch out for is people who socially isolate all of a sudden. So if you have a friend or if you yourself are suddenly finding it difficult to do basic things like get up and take a shower, make yourself food, or deal with friends, family, and people that you normally care about, it is essential for you to look at the possibility that your mind may be overloading and you may be breaking down. Now, everybody needs to take a day for themselves now and then. That's normal. And sometimes even taking, a few days to a week is okay, especially if you've gone through a difficult experience or you have been running crazy for an extended period of time, something like that. Certainly worth doing. But when you enter week number 2 and 3, then you've got into a social isolation pattern, and it's harder to break, and your mind needs connection emotionally, mentally, physically. And so when we don't connect, it can actually cause biochemical results, emotion core issues, and a whole bunch of other things there. Continued depression, which would go along with the isolation, another thing. The various mental health organizations talk about depression that exists for more than two weeks being clinical. While, again, this is not diagnostic, I will say that if you are depressed for more than a couple of weeks at a time in a row, certainly the likelihood that that can change your body and brain chemistry and emotional core is very likely. Also, dealing with that on a daily basis, especially if you're having difficulty doing basic daily tasks or having difficulty getting out of bed, you're not going to necessarily be able to just snap out of that on a consistent basis. And yes, there are going to be people that don't understand, especially if they've never dealt with depression before. And the root cause of depression is your worldview and your needs are not being met consistently enough for you to feel like there's hope for the future. And so sometimes it's necessary to change your needs portfolio. Sometimes it's necessary to change your focus. Sometimes it's necessary to look at toxic relationships in your life. There's a bazillion things you can do with when depressed to kind of not snap out of it, but to work through it. And sometimes medication can be helpful for people that need to reset. There's a lot of different things one can do, but again, doing it alone, not advisable. Forgetfulness and memory loss is another major thing. When your body and mind are constantly in a depressed, isolated state, you are actually having to do more in your brain, think like a computer overload, to perform basic daily functions. And so when you're having to do more to handle basic daily functions, that means things like memory, recall of phone numbers, recall of things that you're supposed to do, that the good time management, remembering your responsibilities, be it to your family, friends, children, whatever, becomes harder because you don't have as much brain space in your automatic processes for those things you would normally remember because you're focused on the repetitive loop of the negative emotions that you're feeling. And so forgetfulness is a major part of that. Then you go into addiction. Most of the time, when a person is constantly feeling negative, they just want relief. and release. So relief and release comes when we change our mind state, when we change how we feel, and addictive behaviors such as alcohol, drugs, even sexuality, shopping, gambling, all of these things will give you an emotional shift. They will give you a change. So for drugs and alcohol, they can make you feel happy, they can make you feel relaxed, they can make you feel less stressed out, they can help you sleep. There's a lot of, I know this will sound weird, but there's a lot of good things that altering mind, drugs, and alcohol can do for you. However, the problem is that you will wake up and the next day or a few hours later, and you'll still have the same problems, and it gets into the cycle of addiction where you're chasing that high, you're chasing that feeling, and not dealing with the challenges that exist there instead. If you don't deal with the core challenges, you can't recover, and the more you get deeper into addiction, the more your body, mind, and spirit breaks down as a habit. Paranoia. So, paranoia happens when the brain begins to unravel and starts to look at life and say that everyone is against us or that nothing ever changes, and we become obsessive, intrusive thoughts that there is no good in the world. Now, we might have that for a day here, a day there, if we've had a really bad day, and that's within the realm of normalcy. Even though, if you've had a traumatic experience, some people say the first sign of paranoia is a bad thing. No, if we've all had that "is he following me" or is she angry with me" moment. And when we can return that, when we can get through it, it's important to understand that those emotions of momentary paranoia are okay. However, when they are daily or several times a day or several times an hour, that's where it becomes life becoming unmanageable, and that will cause habit changes that we've talked about, like changes in your eating pattern, changes in your sleep pattern. Now, there are some people that never have a healthy sleep schedule, either insomnia or other sleep-related challenges, or you work third shift, and so finding a healthy sleep pattern is difficult, or you work second shift and finding a sleep pattern is difficult, or you've had a new baby. There's a million reasons why sleep issues do exist, but if you find that your sleep pattern changes, in other words, the amount and quality of sleep you're getting suddenly shifts, that's worth looking at. Same with your diet and other rudimentary survival-based skills. The last thing we need to talk about is the effect of panic on a breakdown. If you are in constantly, and when I mean constantly, I'm talking about for the majority of several days in a row, in a panic, fight, or flight mentality. Either I'm going to knock somebody out or I'm going to run away. I'm going to get away from the situation, or I'm going to get through it, and I'm going to do anything necessary to do it, even if it's toxic to me. That's another sign that your mind can't handle the stress it's under, and you're about to break down. Again, if you are about to go through a breakdown, or you know someone that is, please help them, especially if they're suicidal or homicidal or in any way looking to hurt themselves or others. It's worth getting them the proper assistance, giving them numbers to suicide hotlines and crisis intervention lines, hooking them up with a counselor and other things. Always worthwhile things to do, but also realize that a person has to be ready to receive the help. So it's difficult. Don't take on so much within trying to help somebody that you lose yourself in the process, but always reach out if you believe someone that you love is going through traumatic experiences and or experiences that could lead to a mental or emotional breakdown. It's difficult out there. Check in with your loved ones on a regular basis, especially during this pandemic when so much is upside down. It's important to do that and key to people's recovery and wellness. Anyway, until next time, I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.